It's more than high time. I'd say even that it is cozy time that a trial study is presented that actually fits Tiffany's case. Double Double, Trial and Trouble, that is the title of a Prattles thread number 48. It comes from William Shakespeare's play Macbeth, where the witches are singing double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Now, let us see what is in the cauldron. On October the 25th, I had written the following in that Tattles thread. This is what I had written. The only tidbits of information regarding the trial that I observed from Tiffany's video tonight, which was liver results and clinical trial cancer journey 2025. Number 1, she received the new drug intravenously at the hospital. Number 2, she is being co-treated with FOLFIRI via her Baxter pump. Number 3, she had to return to the hospital to have Baxter removed from her port. Now, the new drug might be a drug that ends in MAB, which stands for monoclonal antibody, as in some trials, that is given first intravenously on day 1, along with the standard treatment of FOLFIRI in her case. Now, here is a trial currently active at the Royal Marsden, Chelsea location. The title is a randomized open-label phase 3 study of amivantamab and FOLFIRI versus cetuximab, bevacizumab plus FOLFIRI in participants with KRAS, NRAS, and BRAF, wild-type recurrent unresectable or metastatic colorectal cancer who have received prior chemotherapy. Now, the title itself matters because it matches her case, and it is also consistent with the treatment scenario she has been showing, which is the trial drug plus FOLFIRI on day 1. Now, however, there are exclusions, one of which is as follows. Patients with prior exposure to any agent targeting EGFR or MET. Now, this type of exclusion refers to patients who had any prior exposure to monoclonal antibodies that targeted certain sites on the surface of a cell, which are epithelial growth factor receptors and hepatocytic growth factors. Now, someone such as Tiffany, who had previously been treated with panitumumab, which is an anti-epithelial growth factor receptor monoclonal antibody, would not be eligible to enroll in this trial regardless of how long ago the panitumumab was given. The trial's exclusion is categorical, meaning it said it had prior exposure to any agents that target those types of receptors, rather than time-limited or within X years only. So unless Tiffany got an exception, let's call it a princess exception, she technically wouldn't be admitted as a patient in this trial study. Now, you have to know that exceptions are rarely made. And in this case, there are precise biochemical reasons why patients who previously had anti-epithelial growth factor receptor antibodies would not be acceptable test subjects for such a study. Virgin test cases for anti-epithelial growth factor receptor antibodies are required. Well, that's the wording in the actual trial study, doesn't use the word virgin, but I thought, to get the message across, I would use that term. And Tiffany isn't a virgin test case. Well, in the biochemical sense, with regard to this study, I'm not implying anything else. Let's go on to the next thing. Okay. There are also other exclusions to this study if you are interested in that. Now, you can see where it says the one that I was talking about, prior exposure to irinotecan and or agents that target EGFR or MET. And the link for this trial study was given in the previous slide. Let's go to the next one. Now, no one on Tattles has identified the trial yet, despite all of our efforts. There is always something that doesn't match, whether its trial, is treatment-based or eligibility-based, whether, it's a trial that fits her case with regard to colorectal cancer or not. Now, what is my guess? Well, first of all, my guess is that what if the trial drugs have proven to be promising, say in phase 1 and phase 2 trials, but she is ineligible for this phase 3 trial because of the criteria the criterion that I had previously shown. Well, the doctor could request an compassionate use exception for off-label dosing. So in other words, the question is, could an oncologist request cetuximab, for instance, once every 28 days, Q4W, on compassionate use grounds? In medical terminology, the Q4W just means every, Q means every in medical terminology. I don't know where that comes from. 4W, so every 4 weeks on compassionate use grounds. The answer is yes, but not within this clinical trial. So basically, there are also details of dosing schedules in this study that don't respond with her once every 28 days infusion of the trial drug. Okay. Now, in the UK, doctors can request off-label compassionate use if the patient has no reasonable alternatives. If the treatment is expected to benefit the patient, and if the benefits outweigh the risk, and if the patient is fully informed and also consents. Okay, so those are the criteria for, I guess, accepting off-label use by the patient. Now, cetuximab can legally be used off-label in the United Kingdom because doctors may vary dose or schedule if they believe it is clinically justified. In that case, a doctor could prescribe FOLFIRI, for example, every 14 days, Q2W, or cetuximab once every 28 days, Q4W. Now, this would be off-label but allowed under UK prescribing rules if justified and documented. Now, where do I get the once every 28 days? Before you all start to ask me these questions. Now, where I get that is that her normal chemotherapy schedule was every 2 weeks. Remember when she was only receiving chemotherapy, it was always once every 2 weeks. So she had a Q2W dosing schedule for FOLFIRI. Since the onset of the trial, remember that on day 1, let's say that is week 1, she received the trial drug plus FOLFIRI. The week 2, she was off. So that takes us from day 1, at the end of the second week is 14 days. So, the 13 days. On the 14th day, which would be the beginning of week 3, she receives only FOLFIRI because she's not receiving the trial drug every time. Okay, and then on the week 4, she would be off. So this brings the cycle to the end of 28 days. It is very important that you should remember that within this trial study, and many other trial studies also, the scheduling of chemotherapy is as per the regular scheduling of the patient. And in this case, they also added a trial drug to it. In her case, once every 28 days. So her dosing schedule is FOLFIRI Q2W plus trial drug Q4W. Well, this looks like a very bad algebraic equation, but that's okay. So now, one question, first of all, she's ineligible for the trial, but I was just now wondering if she could be using cetuximab, for instance, off-label, as compassionate use. The answer would be yes. She could theoretically be on cetuximab for compassionate use. Now, the other question I would like to approach is, does any known colorectal cancer trial use cetuximab once every 4 weeks? The answer is no. For cetuximab, only weekly or bi-weekly dosing schedules are supported by pharmacokinetics and regulatory approvals. Now, these can be found on the FDA, United States Food and Drug Administration website, where they give the dosing schedules and the accepted protocol. There is no data supporting once every 4 weeks of cetuximab, and no public trial protocol uses Q4W cetuximab. Okay, thus, if the patient is receiving cetuximab once every 28 days, that treatment is not part of any major colorectal cancer trial and is almost certainly off-label compassionate use or physician-directed treatment, not a clinical study regimen. So, the conclusion I would like to make here is that I am not certain that she is on a clinical trial because, first of all, she has not stated the name of the clinical trial, and there is no searchable clinical trial that has been found either by me or by other people who have been extensively looking that matches her case at the Chelsea Royal Marsden location. Okay, so there are many criteria that need to be okay for her to be in the trial. That's the first thing. So the other thing is that she said that she didn't know when she was going to get a scan. Well, she did know, then she didn't know, and she said, she messed up the scheduling for her scan in terms of informing her viewers about that. So it seems, was she unclear about when she was going to have scans, or is she purposely misleading people? Once a trial begins, everything is known from day one, from the time she signs her name on that. She would already have the scan schedule. So if she's in a trial, okay, the one I just showed, this isn't the trial. I can show you the page, its page, just so you know. This is the trial that was discussed. It was this one right here. Oh my goodness. It was this one. If I can get the screen to be filmed, please. I guess I cannot. Here it is. Okay. So this is the trial that I was talking about. And it is not possible that she could be in this trial. Now, the reason I did mention it is because it is the only trial that seems to fit her case. And so she would be ineligible for it unless she received an exception. Other than that, if you have any comments or questions, or if you have any suggestions as to what trial she might be on, please leave them in the comments below. My personal view is that she is taking chemotherapy and she is on some sort of trial drug, but is it a compassionate use or is it actually a trial? Because the question I have for you, Tiffany, is why are you not telling people what is the name of the clinical trial in which you are participating? That would be very helpful to people, just for them to do reading and just for them to see perhaps if it could be applicable to other cases as well. Thank you very much. Bonne nuit.